I clocked in for overtime and clocked out with my back on a mahogany desk and my soul halfway to HR. But let me say this first. If you've ever worked a corporate job where your boss made your stomach flip for all the wrong or right reasons, then you already know the chaos I'm about to walk you through. Don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe, especially if you've ever had to act professional while trying not to fall apart around someone who made professionalism feel like a joke. You're not alone. My name's Daniel Ramirez. 25, single, 2 degrees, and a closet full of suits that don't fit quite right. I had just landed a junior marketing analyst position at Sterling & Knox, a top-tier branding firm tucked in the high rises of Midtown Manhattan. From the outside, the building looked like a glass cathedral. Sleek, modern, untouchable. Inside, it smelled like wealth and overpriced espresso. I was the new kid. Intern energy, but salaried. A miracle. Then he walked in. Jordan Sterling. Yes, the Sterling & Knox. CO, late 30s, tall, jaw so defined could cut tension, and a suit so tailored it looked like it was sewn directly onto his skin. His voice, smooth, calm, and confident. The kind of voice that makes you listen before you even know what he's saying. He passed by my cubicle on his way to the corner office and paused. Ramirez, right? Yes, sir. Call me Jordan. He smiled, just a little. But it was the kind of smile that says, I notice things. Like how nervous you are. Like how fast your heart is beating. Like how much you'd give just to be alone in a room with me. I looked down, trying to keep my cool. But something in me had already shifted. Day one, and I knew I wasn't just here for a paycheck. I was in trouble. The kind of trouble you don't see coming until you're halfway in, and there's no exit in sight. Don't forget, if you've ever mixed business with blurred lines or temptation in a tailored suit, go ahead and comment, share, and subscribe. This is just the beginning. And trust me, it gets a whole lot messier. The office had emptied out hours ago, leaving only the hum of the city lights beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Sterling & Knox looked less like a corporate fortress and more like a cage I was willingly stepping into. Jordan called me into his office just as I was about to clock out. Daniel, you're going to need to stay late tonight. There's a client pitch for Monday, and I want your fresh eyes on it. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Of course, Jordan. I'll get right on it. I wasn't sure if the tightness in my chest was from the work or because of the way he was watching me. Standing close by his desk, the light from his laptop casting shadows on his sharp cheekbones. The room was quiet except for the faint clicking of keys and the distant sirens from Times Square. Jordan didn't say much, but his presence filled the room like an electric current. At one point, he leaned over my shoulder to point out a slide, and our arms touched. Just a brush, but my skin felt on fire. I tried to focus, but his breath was warm, and his cologne, something woody, maybe cedar mixed with something spicy, wrapped around me like a secret. When I looked up, he was watching me. Not the work, just me. Do you think you can handle the stress? He asked quietly, his voice low enough that it sent a shiver down my spine. I swallowed hard. Yes. He smiled again, that slow, knowing smile. And I wanted to believe it was because he thought I was good at my job. But deep down I knew this wasn't about work. A week into my new role, and I was already running on coffee and nerves. Jordan had that way of making every day feel like a high-stakes audition. Except this wasn't just for a job. It was something else. Something unspoken. That Friday afternoon, just as the sun was dipping behind the skyscrapers, Jordan appeared at my desk, casual but deliberate. Daniel, he said, voice low. There's a dinner with some clients tonight. It's informal, but attendance is expected. I want you there. I blinked, surprised. Tonight? I wasn't planning. He cut me off with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. It's downtown, some rooftop bar. Nice view, good drinks. I think you'll like it. That smile, that look. I knew I was being pulled deeper into his world, and maybe into something I wasn't ready for. Later that evening, the city glittered beneath us. The rooftop was packed with sharp suits and sharper smiles. Jordan stood next to me, his hand occasionally brushing mine, not quite accidental. I kept telling myself it was just business, but the way he looked at me over the rim of his glass, that was anything but professional. "Relax, Daniel," he said, leaning in so close I could feel his breath. "You're doing better than you think." That night, I realized I wasn't just an employee anymore. I was part of his game, and I didn't know if I wanted out. The night after the rooftop dinner, I couldn't stop replaying Jordan's gaze, intense, unreadable, like he was daring me to cross an invisible line. And maybe I was. The next day, after everyone left the office, Jordan called me back to his office. The usual excuse, just a quick chat. But we both knew it wasn't just business. He closed the door behind me, the click echoing like a warning. "Daniel," he said, voice low and serious, "I know this isn't conventional. What we're about to do, it has to stay between us." My heart thundered, but I nodded. I was in too deep already. He stepped closer, the space between us charged with something fierce and forbidden. When his hand brushed mine, it wasn't the laying hands you hear about in church sermons. It was something raw, something electric. The moment stretched, fragile and explosive. I wanted to pull away, but couldn't. Because for once, I felt wanted. Seen. That day, I crossed the line Jordan silently drew in the office, between boss and employee, power and vulnerability. Keeping Jordan and me a secret felt like carrying a live wire, exciting but dangerous. Every glance in the office, every brush of fingers in the stairwell, had me on edge. The thrill was intoxicating, but so was the fear. I knew what was at stake. My job, his reputation, and the illusion of control we both desperately clung to. One night, after a late meeting, he pulled me into his car. The city lights blurred past as we sat too close, words unspoken but understood. "I don't want this to ruin everything," I whispered. Jordan's eyes softened. "It already has. But maybe that's not such a bad thing." We both knew the truth. Our secret was a powder keg. One spark and everything would blow. For weeks, I managed to keep the charade alive, smiling at co-workers, pretending nothing was different. But secrets have a way of unraveling. The stolen texts, the lingering looks, the sudden late nights, all started stirring suspicion. One afternoon, I caught Jordan staring at me in a way that was equal parts desire and worry. "We can't keep doing this," he said quietly. "Someone's going to find out." I wanted to argue, to say I didn't care, but the truth was I did. I cared too much. That night, the fear and the desire tangled inside me. Was it worth it? To risk everything for a forbidden love? I didn't have an answer. All I knew was I was too deep to stop now. I didn't see it coming. The anonymous note slipped under my apartment door. No name, no explanation, just 4 words. "Stop before it breaks." My heart sank. Jordan and I were already walking on glass, but this was the first real sign that someone knew or at least suspected. When I confronted him, his face was tight, unreadable. "We can't hide forever," he said, voice heavy. "If this leaks, it'll ruin us both." The weight of those words crushed me. The job, the reputation, my future, all dangling by a thread. But the thing was, I didn't want to stop. Not yet, because beneath the risk and the fear was something that felt real. Something worth fighting for. The office felt colder. I seemed to follow me everywhere, whispers just out of earshot. Jordan was distant, guarded, like he was already preparing for the fallout. One afternoon, I caught him staring out the window, his jaw clenched tight. "We can't keep hiding," he said abruptly when I approached. "Someone's gonna spill. I'm done running." I wanted to hold on, to convince him to keep fighting. But deep down, I knew he was right. That night, I lay awake wondering how something that started with a glance and a touch could turn into this, an impossible mess of love, fear, and betrayal. I had to decide, keep pretending or face the chaos head on. It hit like a storm. The rumor mill churned faster than I could keep up. Whispers in the hallway. Stares at meetings. A coldness in the air thicker than winter in Manhattan. Jordan's office door stayed shut more often than not, and I could feel the weight of the scandal pressing down on both of us. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from HR. We need to talk. Urgent. My hands trembled. The meeting was tense, filled with questions that felt more like accusations. Jordan didn't come to my defense, or maybe he couldn't. I realized then that the secret we'd held so tightly was now a wildfire, burning through everything we'd built. I never imagined it would end like this. Jordan resigned that same week, leaving behind the corner office and a trail of whispered stories. As for me, I was suspended, my reputation shredded like paper in the wind. The office that once felt like a battlefield now felt like a prison. But the worst part wasn't the job or the gossip. It was the silence between us. No calls, no texts. Just a void where something real had lived. I found myself staring at my phone, willing it to ring, knowing it wouldn't. Maybe we were never meant to win this battle. Maybe some loves are meant to burn fast and messy, leaving scars but also lessons. So here I am, sharing my story, flawed, messy, raw. If you've ever been caught between desire and disaster, you're not alone. If you follow this roller coaster, please share, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that dives deep into the messiness of real life. Thanks for sticking with me. More stories are coming. Stay tuned.